mo tún gbọ́rọ̀ àgbà dé o. ẹ jẹ́ tí ẹ gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà bí ó ṣe lówùrọ̀ ó pẹ́ títí á ṣe lọ́jọ́ alẹ́.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Adedotun Seyingbo. I'm from Dawn Commission. So, for some of us who are here for the first time, of course, we deem it fit to just say a little bit about Dawn Commission, and then our Daddy Prof will take on those questions and comments that have been made. So, Dawn Commission, of course, DAWN stands for Development Agenda for Western Nigeria. So the commission is actually set up to manage that agenda, which of course borders around regional integration, regional collaboration of states in Western Nigeria. Our intervention points are 5. So the first is economic competitiveness, economic development. We also intervene in infrastructure development. The third is social and human capital development. The fourth is governance, building inclusive institutions, governance and building inclusive institutions. And the fifth is around homeland affairs, homeland matters. Of course, the commission is currently headed by a Director General who is acting, Mr. Shaya Oyele. And we have a team working along those 5 pillars that we mentioned. You discover that our discussion today, which borders around unemployment, has thrown a lot of assignments and tasks on the Social and Human Capital Development Desk, which is headed by a senior analyst here, who is seated. Her name is Olamide Odedino. One thing we would like us to know is that our intention for YHC, which is the Yoruba Historical Conversation, is to start the conversation. There are so many things we don't talk about in our region. There are so many things that we would rather keep them bottled up in our stomach and not, So the idea of the Yoruba Historical Conversation is for us to provoke a platform where some of these issues can first be discussed. And in discussing them, also it's important for us to also get the historical perspective of all these conversations. Where are we coming from? And I'm very sure my colleague did justice to that. On this particular topic, which we are looking at, on our Social and Human Capital or Social and Human Development Desk, the education team is very key to us. In 2016, we held a roundtable on education, looking at what should be our areas of intervention. And then we came up and say, for us in Southwest, we pride to say universal education, everybody be educated, without really looking at the issue of quality and functionality of that education. And then we found out that an average household in Southwest, 90% of them are educated, but what they carry is not functional. It's not useful. And so, for us, we came up with some set of activities that needed to be done. As part of the way we work with the state government not to implement what the state government should naturally do, but we make. So we say in 4 M's, we make, we try to come up with programs, we try to come up with, for example, there's a program that we're looking to come up with, which is how do we build institutional framework for market-driven skills development. Of course, just to respond to what our professors have said here regarding what sort of response or what is doing along some of these lines. We have figured out that there is need for us to have institutional framework for us to actually have market-driven skills development. So if you say, oh, nursing, and is not demanded by the market, then it's a waste of time. So for us, how do we begin to look at the Ministries of Education, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Agri, how do we begin to get them to talk together to identify what skill is needed for that sector to move forward? And now then do we begin to get our educational institutions to then align themselves to provide that skill. So those are some of the things that we have been doing. So as part of how we work, we create programs to address these issues, and then we engage our states. We leverage our convening power, which the government of Southwest have given to us. As we speak, we can call the commissioners of education, for example, commissioners of agriculture, for example, and bring them around an issue that we consider very important to sustainable development of the region. And then we engage them with this program. We do not just leave them at the point of engaging them and say we are backing off. We also submit ourselves as technical resources to also guide them. And so, of course, like Mr. Ashegu has pointed out, implementation is still a big issue. But what we have understood in the process of our work with the states is that when you are pointing somebody to an innovative approach to doing a particular thing, which they are not used to, you yourself need to be very patient. You don't need to be too hasty, saying, oh, you have to do it now. This idea is fantastic. Why are they not rolling with it? So, as part of what we do at the Commission, we try to understand the context of implementing some of these programs. We try to understand the political, economic context. We try to understand the constraints, whether we like it or not. A governor, for example, will emerge by paying billions of naira. It's not likely going to listen to those people who don't give him that vote at no cost. So those are constraints also facing our government, which for us, we acknowledge. But we also ensure that in acknowledging this, we get them to a point where they are willing to implement some of these programs. And so in a nutshell, Dawn Commission is the new, it's a platform for every development conscious individual in Southwest. Our door is open. We're on the 10th floor at Cocoa House. Of course, just to symbolize what the Cocoa House also was. And we receive proposals. We welcome ideas. We welcome suggestions. What Prof has put here, for us, these are prescriptions as to how we can. So for us, is to then sit down, mobilize resources, technical capacities, and then see how we can flesh this out to become what we can take to our government. So there are long-term prescriptions here, there are short-term prescriptions, and we don't just leave it at conversation. We see what we do with this conversation. So we would like every one of us who are concerned, Mr. Shegun several times, and Alaji, they've been at the commission, cutting, you know, and all of that. So we welcome all of those ideas, so long as they are geared towards reposition the Southwest economy. And our hope is that with all of these concerted efforts, with well-meaning individuals in the region, with eminent intellectuals in the region, professionals, those, of course, of the aged category, we believe that with all of this effort, we can all move this region forward. It may look like it's a snail movement. It may look like, oh, Ahmad, Kombito Yeka Kon, Boshe Yeka Kon, but we know that we are making appreciable progress, and we long to seek to get more of your support. So thank you very much. And just a bit of getting us to know what Dawn is and how we do what we do. Thank you. And I have a question. Sorry, sir. I'm also a participant here. Yoruba. All right. So We've heard here, I lead the economic competitiveness team, and part of what we work on is agri, solid minerals, and all of those. And of course, we have this very big topic before us, zero tolerance. Now, when we look at the kind of youth or the kind of demography that fall within this unemployment or having this unemployment status, it's not our daddies here. Majority of them are young adults and youth. Will agriculture really solve the problem? Knowing that the kind of agriculture we have, the kind of idea we have about agriculture now is that many people are employed. When you say many people are employed, what it means is that less of mechanization, Abi? Do you agree with me? When you say many people are employed, it means, but certainly mechanization reduces labor. Do we agree? Now, technology adoption. When you adopt technology, now we've seen so many greenhouse farming now. We've seen, in fact, we have some couple of guys who just leveraging what we call IoT, Internet of Things. You can run your fish farm without a single labor. All you need to do is set it up, put the IT infrastructure, and then it runs. So you don't need, unlike days when you need you don't need all of those, and those are job opportunities that are gone. So my question is, the kind of agriculture which is to position our commodities for global competitiveness. Our global competitiveness means that the price of those commodities are as low as what is coming from China. It's not like we're not producing some certain things, but where is the market? I spoke with somebody in Nikemtes textile industry. They are closing down their Ikorodu factory, which employs hundreds of people. And I asked him why. The Chinese textile companies have flooded the market with low product. So if you want to produce honey, like our commissioner said the other time, it must compete favorably with honey coming from, for example, Ghana. And if it must do so, it must be low cost. And if it must be low cost, technology appears to be the solution. If technology appears to be the solution, it looks like some of our youth whom we think this same agriculture will employ are not going to be employed. My question is, what solution, what innovative solution can we think of aside from this idea about agriculture, solid mineral? They engage a lot of people, which for me are ideas of decades ago and not the kind of agriculture that the country needs today. Thank you very much.
Ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà bí ó ṣe lówùrọ̀, ó pẹ́ títí, àṣẹ lọ́jọ́